Good morning, Shindo here. Well, I was doing an article by this same author, a rabbi, a couple of months ago. This is an example of the Zionist Christian type news media that Christians seem to be wrapped up in so much lately. And this really should get a lot more attention from the Christians, but, well, let's say if they were asking Barack Obama to do this instead of Donald Trump, every Christian YouTube channel would be talking about this. But since it's Donald Trump that they're asking, they're sort of ignoring it because they're trying to ignore exactly who and what their gut is telling them that Donald Trump is. So let's look at this. This is from Breaking Israel News. Title of this article, and I will be putting this up in the description box. If you like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. Ben exclusive. Sanhedrin asked Putin and Trump to build third temple in Jerusalem. Now, the third temple, according to tradition of those of the Christian fundamentalist, the third temple is an extremely important part of their end times concept. Thus saith Hashem to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue nations before him, and to loose the loins of kings, to open the doors before him, that the gates may not be shut. Isaiah 45:1. Now, who is Cyrus? At one point, the Israelites were taken into slavery by Babylon. After being enslaved for about 150 years or so, several generations, the king of Babylon freed the Israelites to go and go back to their land, and that's when the second temple was built. That was the same temple that was around during the beginning of Christendom and when Jesus Christ was allegedly alive. So this guy Cyrus in the Bible, who freed the Israelites to go back to Israel and rebuild the temple, that would have been the second temple, he is being compared to Donald Trump, which is very odd. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me how Donald Trump is anything like Cyrus, but this is the way they justify putting in a man like Donald Trump. This is how Christians justify it in their fevered brains. The National Sanhedrin is calling on Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump to join forces and fulfill their biblically mandated roles by rebuilding the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. What, biblically mandated? The Bible is telling them that they have to do this? Wow. This is the mindset, folks. This is that scary mindset that was just bubbling under the surface, a mindset that Lucy and I that Lucy and I see every day. Just half an hour ago, I got a comment on my new Trump video that was, "Go back to hell, you bitch." This, folks, it's going to get really scary out there for any of us who they call heretics. Just a matter of time. Rabbi Hillel Weiss, spokesman for the Sanhedrin, contacted Breaking Israel News to announce that the election of Trump, who was promised to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel — I did a video about that — coupled with Putin's expressed desire for the temple to be rebuilt. I didn't know about that. Putin wants the temple rebuilt? Wow. Prompted the Jewish court to send a letter offering the two the opportunity to act as modern-day Cyrus figures, non-Jewish kings who recognize the importance of Israel and the temple. Let me tell you an aside about King Cyrus and the rebuilding of the Second Temple. I believe that when the Israelites went back to Israel, what they did is essentially take the Babylonian gods with them. That was before any of these writings that is now what we call the Old Testament, by the way. Cyrus the Great, king of Persia in the 6th century BCE, announced the first year of his reign that he was prompted by God to make a decree that the Temple of Jerusalem should be rebuilt. Thus said Cyrus, king of Paras, "All the kingdom of the earth hath Hashem, the God of heaven, given me, and he hath charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Yadua." Cyrus sent the Jews under the rule back to Israel with considerable sum of money with which to rebuild the temple. The Sanhedrin plans to call on the two world leaders to take this ancient biblical decree and support the Jewish people in their holy mission. And these idiot Christians are going to support it. You watch. Rabbi Weiss explained that the U.S. elections have made the eternal Jewish dream a very real possibility. Quote, "We are poised to rebuild the temple. The political conditions today, in which the two most important national leaders in the world support the Jewish right to Jerusalem as their spiritual inheritance, is historically unprecedented," unquote. Rabbi Weiss told Breaking Israel News. The Sanhedrin's letter notes that Trump's upset victory was due to his support for Jerusalem and reminds Trump of his campaign promise to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, effectively recognizing the city as the capital of Israel. The Jerusalem Embassy Act, passed in Congress in 1995, initiated the moving of the embassy, but has been vetoed since every American president since. The Sanhedrin calls on Trump to withhold the veto after he takes office. The Sanhedrin also recalled Putin's connection to the temple in his letter during the third official trip to Jerusalem in 2012. Putin paid a late-night visit to the Kotel, Western Wall, when he arrived at the holy site. The Russian leader stood in silence for several minutes, offering up a personal prayer, after which he read Psalms from a Russian Hebrew prayer book. An Israeli bystander called out in Russian, quote, "Welcome, President Putin." Putin approached the man, who explained the importance of the Temple Mount and the Jewish temple. Chaid Shadim, an Orthodox Hebrew news site, reported that Putin responded, quote, "That's exactly the reason I came here, to pray for the temple to be built again." After this remarkable exchange, the Sanhedrin sent a letter to Putin calling on him to fulfill his prayer. At that time, President Putin did not respond to the Sanhedrin's request, but now that the incoming U.S. president is a potential ally in the project, the Sanhedrin believes it's time for Putin to take an active role in rebuilding the temple. In addition to its request concerning the temple, the Sanhedrin is also calling on Putin and Trump to renew the 1920 League of Nations resolution known as San Remo Treaty, which essentially enabled the creation of the Jewish state by dividing the Ottoman Empire. It incorporated the Balfour Declaration, issued by Great Britain in 1917, which gave official recognition and backing for the establishment of Israel. Yes, folks, it is Great Britain that supported the Zionist movement that got Israel created. So if you have a problem with Zionism, you need to look towards Great Britain protecting its oil interest, as in British Petroleum, BP. U.S. President Calvin Coolidge ratified the San Remo Agreement in 1925, thus making recognition of a Jewish state legally binding by U.S. law. The Sanhedrin emphasized that it's imperative at this time, when the Palestinian Authority is attempting to rewrite world history by campaigning against the Balfour Declaration, to strengthen the historic American commitment to the State of Israel by readopting the agreement. Yeah, folks, all this talk over the past few years of support for the Palestinians and their plight over there against Israel, that's all going to be swinging the other way now, for sure. Rabbi Weiss emphasized that supporting the Jewish claim to Jerusalem would bring benefit Russia and America as well as the entire world. Quote, "The leaders of Russia and America can lead the nations of the world to global peace through building of the temple, the source of peace," unquote. Rabbi Weiss explained, quote, "This will offset the disgraceful UNESCO resolutions that are the root cause of increasing terror and violence," unquote. Last month, the United Nations Educational, Cultural, and Scientific Organization passed 2 resolutions denying any connection between the city of Jerusalem and the Jewish people, ceding to Islam a religious monopoly on many of Jerusalem's holy sites. So if you don't know this, let me tell you what is prophesied in the Bible and what the fundamentalist Christians are looking for with regards to the Third Temple. According to the Bible, the Third Temple will have been rebuilt because the man of perdition, they call him, which we more associate the word the Antichrist or the beast, will stand at the temple steps and declare himself to be God after stopping the ritual sacrifices that will be going on in the temple. Now, they have been getting this and been waiting for this to happen for some time. They have been preparing for a third temple for several years. They have all of the instruments they need to start the sacrifices again. I'm reading some of these comments here on the bottom, and it's scary. It's scary. I have found a couple of videos, and I'm sure there's more out there, that is talking about praise, music, and pictures of Donald Trump as the new emperor god. This is, well, it's exactly what I anticipated would happen. This is exactly what my wife and I have been speaking about the election of Donald Trump. These things are happening, and no one is really talking about it, certainly not in a negative way. If you're going to hear anything about this, you're going to hear it from Christians, and the Christians are going to be going, how wonderful, right? As I've said multiple times before, all of these different prophecies in the Bible can easily be filled if people want to fulfill them. There's not a prophecy in the Bible that can't be fulfilled by human beings at this point. Heck, we're even causing earthquakes, which are predicted in the last time, by the fracking going on in this country. If you like what I do, folks, I can assure you no one else is going to be talking about things like this and giving you a heads up of what's going on. This is something that my wife and I have been predicting with regards to Donald Trump, who he is, what he's doing. Here we got Putin aligned with him. We're going to see, I believe, Donald Trump go over to Russia or meet with Putin somewhere and discuss peace. And what the heck happened to them going, the Russians going against Aleppo and just destroying it? Because Aleppo is just, it's teetering. I mean, all they'd have to do is just push it over. They sent out all these battleships. They're sitting. What are they? They're just sitting there over in the waters next to Syria in the Mediterranean, but they're not doing it. I don't understand. They're waiting for something. They're waiting for something because Syria is the civil war is about to end, and the Russians could end it just about any day. So something's going on. They're waiting for something for sure, and I do see Trump, even before he takes the oath of office, going over and having a chat with Putin about these issues. This is Shindo. Have a good Saturday.
This is my kingdom come. This is my kingdom come.